Welcome to Fret Reps. Part 4. The grand illusion of music theory. That's a bold claim. What I'm about to prove to you should blow your mind. It's all related to C major. In this short video, I'll show you how all chords are just the C major chord. I'm going to show you how going diagonally instead of vertically or horizontally, you can not only find all the notes in a chord, but find all the other chords in the C major chord. You heard that right. All the other chords inside the C major chord. Because all the chords in the C major scale are the chords that make up the C major chord. Sounds confusing, I know. Watch how I explain this. As I mentioned in Part 2, construction of a chord. Every other note for 2 octaves are all the optional notes for a chord, and how every other note compressed into 1 octave is the C major scale. And finally, in Part 1, how 2 dyads make a triad and how multiple triads can make a fuller chord. Applying what you learned from the first 3 videos. All of this comes into play now. Let's make a chord. Start on C. In the C major scale, all the white notes. In these available notes, we focus on every other note. Those are all the available notes for a chord. The C major triad is the smallest chord you can make. Why? Because it's the first 3 notes of the every other note sequence. You can't get any smaller. You can choose any combination of notes within the every other note sequence. There is a pattern, though. Here's a hint: every single note in the C major scale has a 3rd dyad associated with it. So, no matter what note you put your finger on the neck, there's always a 3rd ready to harmonize with it. You also have minor dyads, major dyads, and a 5th. Even though dyads aren't considered a chord, they are part of a chord. Every single one can be turned into a chord. So if you have a C with a major 3rd, major dyad, you know it's starting to be a part of the C major triad. So a C major dyad and an E minor dyad together are a C major chord, a triad. Do this to every dyad in the sequence and you have all the chords in the C major scale. Let's look a little deeper into dyads. Let's meet the dyad family. Look at it like this. In the house of harmony lives Caesar, a singer. Caesar has a wife, 2 daughters, and 2 sons. They love to sing. Now let's look at the neck. Caesar is the first note. He holds the key to the house of harmony. When Caesar sings, his family wants to join in. On the next string, Caesar's wife Dominique sings a 5th along with Caesar. They together are a power couple. They both keep the house of harmony in order. Caesar's oldest daughter starts to sing. She looks up to her dad and sings a positive note to make Caesar sound good. She is the major 3rd. Then there's her little sister, the minor 3rd. She's a bit moody. Then you have Caesar Jr., the octave. Chip off the old block. He's ready to take over the key and have his own wife and kids. They are the 2nd generation. And, of course, there is always the black sheep of the family. He's the double minor diminished or the flat 5. He rebels to disturb the peace. He stands between Junior and his dad. Junior also has a defiant son who stands between him and his oldest son, just like his dad. At home, Caesar is the head and holds the key. But when Caesar is at work, he's not the boss. He passes the key to someone else. His boss has a son named Octavia. His son is the 4th. This now makes Caesar the 5th. The 4th is the octave, the chip off the block of another note. The boss who holds the key. Caesar lives 2 lives. One where he is the one with the key, and the other where he is the 5th. His home and his job. The 2 shall never mix. So any note you land on has its own family of notes on the next string. No matter where you are on the neck, you have a choice of notes on the next string that want to sing harmony to your note. You can even have 2 families sing together because they're all related in one way or another. Now let's see how multiple dyad families come together to make chords. Every triad is made of 2 dyads, and every chord is made up of multiple dyads. Each dyad in a triad are polar opposite of each other, either a major and a minor, or a minor and a major, or the awkward diminished with its 2 minors. So if you start on C in the C major scale, the third for the C will be a major. Starting with a major, you know the next one will be a minor, the opposite. But this is where it gets good. Keep going in this direction to find the next every other note in the sequence. The next one is the opposite yet again, which means it has to be a major third dyad. The pattern here is the swing from major to minor back and forth. Adding imaginary strings beyond the guitar shows the pattern continue either way. That is, up until you hit the diminished double minor. Playing a triad sequence in an angle means you just keep adding a major or a minor third dyad back and forth. And every dyad you add to a chord is a major or minor chord of its own. So switching back and forth from major to minor in a diagonal will hit every other note in the scale, which are your available notes for a chord. Let's start again, and I'll point out all the chords in the C major chord in the C major scale. Fair warning, this can get confusing. I should explain this display. On top, we have all the notes in the every other note sequence. The green box tells you all the notes that have been added so far. On the left is a display of the current C chord that is created with every other note. On the bottom are all the chords in the C major chord. And in the middle center, in baby blue notes, are all the every other notes for a chord, all over the neck. Next to that are the purple notes. These are just showing you the identical notes that are displayed in red. The green box confines all the notes in the current C chord, or the current chord in the C major chord list. Come on, this'll be fun. Starting on C, we add a major third, and this adds the E note. This is a C major dyad. Adding a minor third to this adds the 5th, the G. This G note makes the E and E minor dyad. Add a major third, and this adds the B. This makes the G a G major dyad. The B added to the C chord transforms the chord into a C major 7. I'm going to keep adding thirds in this direction, but this isn't how you'll make the C chord. All these notes can be played in different spots on the neck for easier fingering. For now, we'll continue this way. Adding a minor third adds the D note. Together with the B is a B minor, but starting to become a B diminished triad. But the D, played with the C major chord, is now a C major 9. Add another minor third, adds the note F, which makes the D a D minor dyad. By adding the F to our C chord, it turns the chord into a C major 11. Adding a major third adds the A note, which makes the F an F major dyad. But the A note transforms our chord into C major 13. And adding the last minor third, the note C, makes the A an A minor dyad. The C is the final octave. It's interesting that the relative minor to the C major is the last triad in this sequence. Now, this is oversimplifying. It gets deeper, but learn this first, and the rest of guitar learning will make more sense. Now, let's look at this same chord order, but going up the neck. Play a C major, then go up every other note. The chords are the same and are major, minor, major, diminished, minor, major, minor. This is also useful when soloing. No matter what chord you're in, go to every other note and play a triad arpeggio. This will extend the chord that you're playing and give you a wider harmonic range for soloing. Practice this frequently to lock this into mental and muscle memory. Doing this will expand your fluency. I think this proves that every chord in the C major scale is just an extension or inversion of the C major chord. The next video will show you tasteful chord progressions with relative options for progression changes.